And just like that, I'm home again. Back to the land that first nourished my soul and taught me all that had first allowed me to grow. It's felt almost as though I'd never left, as the earth of my homeland is still the same as the last time I'd felt its embrace. Just reaching out toward the cusp of fall. That beautiful and busy season. And just as every year, it's keeping me on my toes. In all the most wonderful ways. Crafting on nature's margin and connecting back to it all. Though this time it means something just a bit more. Today has been one of the first sunny days in a little bit. When I first got here, it was just rainy and cloudy. The hurricane had made its way up here or down here. And once it's inland enough, it's not so damaging with the winds, but it's very rainy. I think we ended up getting 5 inches of rain in just one of the nights or one day, which is quite a bit. But that's okay. That's the weather I've been craving. I missed the big storms. Now, I guess it wasn't really that big of a storm as there wasn't really any lightning or thunderstorms, but the rain was nice. In Washington, it is rainy and it's cloudy, but it's more drizzly than anything else. You don't really tend to get these big downpours, and I just missed it. It cleanses the earth in a way that other rains do not. But it's nice to finally have some sunnier days, especially after that trip, which was quite the adventure, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it in a little bit. I took a few days when I got here to just kind of settle in, decompress from the ride, and reconnect back to the earth a little slowly, and just take a moment to walk around with my feet bare against the ground and feel it all. But the last couple of days I've gotten back to work as busy as ever, and it feels kind of like I've never left, as all the earth right now is the same as it was when I left for Washington. All the same plants are out and about. It feels like the same trees have just started turning, and it's beautiful. It smells the same, it feels the same, and it's making that year that didn't feel so much like a year that had passed feel even more so like a year hasn't passed, as you know, it's like stepping back in time a bit. And it's been really nice getting to craft again, working with all the wilds in all the most wonderful ways. In particular, I've been drawn to the milk thistle these past few days. It's such a beautiful and wonderful plant, and one that holds a lot of importance for me. It was the first plant that I ever really took time to study and delve into, at least as individually a plant, I guess, if that makes any sense. I first began my journey into all of these herbal things around this time of year. Oh gosh, maybe 9-10 years ago now. And at the time, the milk thistle was in great abundance, as it is now, and it's rather eye-catching, if you can probably gather. And so when I stumbled outside to pick a plant to delve into, that was the first one that I came across. And it will always be wildly important to me for that purpose. Not to mention, it's also a wonderful magical and medicinal herb, though it's mainly useful in detoxification and anything to do with purification or healing. So I've been taking the time to gather up some to dry to take back with me for further crafts later on. So here I have set and getting ready to dry a bunch of milk thistle. It's one of my favorite plants and one that has held a lot of importance for me for, oh gosh, years now. So I'm looking forward to getting to work with it again. However, my girlfriend did find a recipe for milk thistle jelly, and I think I may put my own spin on it. I don't personally love using just straight pectin in recipes, and a lot of floral jams require that. I think I may mix apple into it. We'll see if that's any good, but it looks really interesting, and I am definitely a sucker for a floral jam or jelly. This would be a jelly. So I think that's something I will get started on probably a little later on today. But anyways, it just feels wonderful to be back here. This is what I needed. I have felt so at peace. Besides, getting to work with all the plants here and connecting back to the earth in a way that is familiar to me is really refreshing, and it just feels good. Plus, the trip was a rather exciting one. We left late in the evening that first day and ended up making it all the way to Missoula, which is quite a trek. We got in at 2 in the morning and ended up sleeping in a friend's backyard for only 2 hours before beginning again, and we made it a little bit past the Badlands the second day, which was great. We made it halfway across the country. But I only really spent time those first 2 days filming, because after that point I was just a little too focused on getting here instead of taking the time to stop and explore. This will have been my 4th time across the country and 4th time taking that route. And while it is exceptionally beautiful, I definitely kind of had a hard focus on my mind. Plus, I went through a lot of my favorite parts at night and wasn't able to film there. And because I know I'm gonna get these comments about people telling me I'm crazy for driving across the country so many times, I know, but I am terrified of flying, and this is the best alternative for me. Plus, it's interesting. It's really cool to see the country that way. And it was better for Hazel, because she definitely would not do well on a plane, and this way she got to explore and adventure and see the sights. And all in all, it was only 2 full days and 2 half days in the car, so not bad.
So hard to see from the moment we arrived. Cornelia, you are one who will survive. When time's been bad, you put smiles on everyone. Of you and of all I should have done. It don't mean a thing what shape or form that you're in, the place you're from, the wealth or the color of your skin. And all you have burns to the sky. It's all too late. You wonder why, Cornelia. the place you're from, the wealth or the color of your skin. When all you had burns to the sky, it's all too late, and you wonder why, Cornelia.
Okay, I hope you can see me. I think it may be a bit dark. Let's... How is that? Probably not great, but we're gonna roll with it. Right now I'm just picking apart these flower heads, and it is turning out to be kind of a process. I thought one of the harder plants I'd worked with in recent years was going to be the rose hips from this past fall, and maybe even it was winter when I was working on them technically, but we'll say it was fall. Those were a pain, and it took me 10 hours to get everything finished with them. It was a very rewarding process and well worth it, but my goodness, did it take a long time. And this one, well, it's not taking quite as long. It's quite a prickly task, but it's worth it. I missed crafting in this way, and it's really fulfilling for me. It's these things that I missed the most when I moved to the city, and I expected to be able to do more of it, but it takes a lot of time to go out and forage when it's not something that's just in your backyard, especially when you're living in the city, as everything is so far away. But this just feels so good. Plus, it's kind of a cool process. I've never worked with them in this way. And it will definitely be a rewarding one, hopefully. We'll see. Maybe it will be a failure. This is what first... this is the kind of thing that first made me fall in love with herbal crafts and things. Just the slow, tedious processes and taking the time and the steps that are necessary, especially when it comes to working with flowers. I fell in love with working with flowers a long time ago, and you know, they were one of the first things that drew me in, and it's always exciting to kind of find a new craft with them. So this is quite a joy, even though it's rather painful. Maybe I should wear some gloves, but that pulls me away from the process. I like to be, to feel it and be connected to it. So it'll be worth it. So here is the first calendula oil I had started, and here's the second one, the calendula rose one. This first one I started, I think, nearly 6 weeks ago now. I lost my notes where I was keeping track of when it would be ready. I need to find a better way of doing that, but I think next week I'll be able to strain it all out and get it ready. But I don't know if you can see it, but the flowers went to seed in here, and I think it's really fascinating. This one still has a good couple of weeks left till it's ready, but I'm hoping that it will be ready while I'm still out here so that I can film in my favorite window. I spent some of my vlogging time filming and vlogging here before I moved to Washington, and I love the setting and the window and the darkness around it, but my goodness, have I forgotten how challenging it is to film in a household full of people. I am right now in the basement in a room that's kind of noisy where you can hear everybody walking upstairs, because this is the best option I have, is it's another rainy day outside. So my camera can't quite handle being out there, but my goodness, is it a challenge to find a quiet moment to talk, but that's okay. I am just going to try my best to embrace the busyness around me and just roll with it, because it's no big deal. People interact with life and move around and do things. I don't need to worry about that being in film. But anywho, I am a little bit more grateful for my setup now in the city, where it is quiet and alone often enough for filming. I have a lot of work that I need to finish up today. I have the milk thistle jelly that I need to do. I think I need to run to the farmer's market to get apples. I left it overnight last night. I did some thinking. Often with floral jams in the past, what I've done is allow the flowers to set overnight, or anything to do with syrups. Also, Hazel very kindly knocked it over, so that needed a little bit more time to infuse. So I think today I'll jump into that, and then I also really want to go around, if it becomes a little drier outside, and gather up some of my favorite fall plants and herbs just to take home and try while dry here, and then take home to have. So that's, I think, my plan for the day. But I think I'm going to end this video here and take you all along with me on those ventures in the next one. It has been so wonderful being back here, and I'm really glad that I get to share these videos with you all. Looking back, it's just a wonderful way to preserve memories and feelings in a time, and I'm really grateful that I get to do that. So thank you all for being here, and I'll see you soon.